You're at brunch with your closest friends, and when the bill lands on the table, everyone swipes without a second thought. Appetizers, cocktails, dessert, easily $80 a person, and not one person blinks. They're talking about the SUV they just leased, the luxury bag they got on sale, the Europe trip they booked on a credit card. Meanwhile, you drove here in your paid-off 2019 Camry. You ordered carefully, not because you couldn't, but because you're intentional with every dollar. And for a moment, you feel it, that quiet, uncomfortable feeling, like everyone else is living and you're just watching. But here's the thing nobody at that table will ever tell you. Those friends are likely broke, and you might be the only one at that table actually building wealth. Here's something nobody in your social circle will admit out loud. Most people who look wealthy are not wealthy. They are performing wealth. And there's a very important difference between the two. We've spent our entire lives being conditioned to connect money with what we can see. The car in the driveway, the zip code on the mortgage, the logo on the jacket, the resort tagged in the Instagram post. That's the scorecard most Americans are using, and it is completely, fundamentally wrong. Thomas Stanley spent years studying actual millionaires in America, not the ones on television, not the influencers, the real ones. And what he found was quietly devastating to everything consumer culture tells us. The average American millionaire drives a car that is 3 to 6 years old, not leased, not new, not a status symbol, just a car that gets them where they're going. They live in a home worth less than 3 times their annual income. They wear normal clothes from normal stores. They do not carry credit card balances. They do not perform wealth. They build it, quietly, invisibly, without an audience. Meanwhile, the people performing wealth, driving the $80,000 luxury SUV, wearing the designer everything, living in the expensive neighborhood they can barely afford, many of them have a net worth that is close to zero, or negative. Stanley called them big hat, no cattle. All image, no substance. And here's the number that should stop you cold. According to Federal Reserve data, roughly 30% of American households earning over $100,000 a year have less than $10,000 in liquid savings. 6 figures coming in and 1 bad month away from a crisis. That is not wealth. That is a very expensive, very stressful illusion. Real wealth doesn't show up on your Instagram grid. It shows up in your brokerage account, in your retirement balance, in the assets you own outright. It is completely invisible to everyone around you. And that invisibility, that's exactly why you feel behind, because you're measuring yourself against a performance, not a reality. So before I show you the 3 signs that prove you're actually ahead, understand this one truth first. If you have even 2 of the 3 signs I'm about to walk you through, you are ahead of 80% of people in your exact income bracket. Not some of them, most of them. Let's get into it. The first sign you're financially ahead is one most people would never recognize as a good thing. Your lifestyle today looks like what someone earning your salary from 3 to 5 years ago would have, not what someone at your current income level typically has. Let me make that concrete. Say 5 years ago you were earning $55,000 a year. 1-bedroom apartment, around $1,100 a month, paid-off used car, modest groceries, rare dinners out. Nothing fancy, but nothing stressful either. Now you're earning $85,000 a year, a 55% income increase. And here's what the average American did with that raise. They moved into a $1,800 apartment, leased something new for $450 a month, started eating out 4 times a week, upgraded the wardrobe, booked the vacation. Basically, they spent the raise before it cleared. But you didn't. You're still in a similar apartment, maybe 1,300 now because of market increases, but nothing dramatic. Same car or a modest used upgrade paid in cash, same intentional spending habits. Your lifestyle barely moved, even though your income jumped significantly. This is called living behind your income, and it is the single most powerful predictor of long-term wealth accumulation. Not your salary, not your investment picks, not your side hustle. This. Now let me show you exactly why with simple math. Person A matches lifestyle to income. Income grew from $55,000 to $85,000 over 5 years. Spending grew right alongside it, from $48,000 to $72,000 a year. Average annual savings across that period, about $10,000. After 20 years at 8%, roughly $494,000. Person B lives behind their income. Same exact salary trajectory, but spending stayed close to $52,000, with only modest inflation-adjusted increases. Savings grew from $3,000 to $33,000 a year. Average annual savings around $18,000. After 20 years at 8%, roughly $889,000. Same income, same career path. Nearly $400,000 difference in outcome. All from one decision, controlling lifestyle inflation. Now here's where it gets psychologically interesting. Living behind your income feels genuinely uncomfortable because everyone around you is spending at their income level. Your coworker got the raise and immediately got the new car. Your neighbor's driveway just got a new addition. Your friend group upgraded their vacation budget, and you're still driving the same car, still in the same apartment, still saying no to the group trip to Scottsdale. It feels like you're falling behind socially. It feels like you're being unnecessarily restrictive, like you're missing out on your own life. But here's what's actually happening. Your coworker, your neighbor, your friends, they're on what behavioral economists call the hedonic treadmill. Every income increase triggers a spending increase, and they never actually feel more secure. They just feel more busy, more obligated, more trapped. You're not on that treadmill. You're building optionality. You're building the kind of quiet financial cushion that lets you make decisions from a position of strength, not desperation. Here's a simple way to know if you have this sign. Ask yourself one question. If my income dropped by 40% tomorrow, how much of my current lifestyle could I realistically maintain? If the honest answer is most of it, you are living behind your income. You have sign 1. If the honest answer is almost none of it, you are caught in the lifestyle inflation trap. And the gap between those two answers is the gap between building wealth and performing it. The second sign you're financially ahead is one that will genuinely surprise you. You frequently feel broke, even though your net worth is consistently climbing. And I know that sounds backwards, so let me explain exactly why it's not. When you're seriously building wealth, most of your income gets redirected automatically before you ever have a real chance to spend it. It's already in your 401k, already in your Roth IRA, already attacking your debt ahead of schedule. So what's left in checking? Not much. Maybe $1,000, maybe $2,000. And you stare at that number and feel the quiet anxiety of someone who thinks they're behind. But your actual financial picture tells a completely different story. $150,000 in retirement accounts, $20,000 in an emergency fund, a paid-off car worth $15,000. You are not broke. You are wealthy and illiquid. Your money has a job. It is compounding quietly in the background while your checking account makes you nervous. That anxiety is not a warning signal. It is confirmation that your capital allocation is working exactly as it should. Here's the behavioral economics piece that explains why this feels so wrong. There's a concept called mental accounting. We treat money completely differently based on where it physically sits. Money in checking feels like spending money. Money in investments feels untouchable. Wealthy people maximize the untouchable buckets deliberately. They feel cash poor on purpose because a consistently fat checking account is not a wealth strategy. It's just money waiting to be spent. Here's a concrete example. Sarah earns $72,000 a year. Every month, automatically, $900 to her 401k, $500 to her Roth IRA, $400 to high-yield savings, $300 extra towards student loans, $2,100 a month that never meaningfully lands in checking. She feels tight almost every single month, but her net worth grows by over $25,000 a year before investment returns even enter the equation. Her colleague Marcus earns the exact same salary, contributes the bare minimum, has over $4,000 available to spend every month, never really says no to anything. In 10 years, Sarah's net worth will exceed $300,000. Marcus's will have roughly $45,000. Same salary, completely different financial destination. Sarah feels broke. Marcus feels comfortable. Sarah is winning. If your checking account typically sits between $1,000 and $3,000, and you're consistently directing 20% or more towards savings and investments, you have sign 2. The third sign you're financially ahead is probably the one that stings the most. The people closest to you don't understand your financial decisions, and they're not quiet about it. They don't understand why you're still driving that car, why you're in that apartment, why you said no to the group trip, why you didn't upgrade your phone, and they say it directly. You only live once. What's the point of making money if you never spend it? Stop being so tight. And here's what makes this sign so painful. It's not strangers saying it. It's your friends, your family, the people whose opinions actually matter to you. Here's what I need you to understand about that criticism. It is not about you. It is about them. Research on social conformity shows something uncomfortable. When you behave more disciplined than your peer group, the group experiences cognitive dissonance. Your behavior quietly implies their behavior might be wrong, and that implication makes them deeply uncomfortable. So they criticize. They make jokes about how cheap you are, not because you're actually making a mistake, but because your discipline is a mirror, and they don't love what they see in it. The brutal reality underneath all of it, the people criticizing your financial choices are almost always in a worse financial position than you, living paycheck to paycheck, carrying balances they don't talk about, one unexpected bill away from genuine stress, and offering you financial advice. Think about that for a second. Here's what this looks like in real numbers. David and his wife earn a combined $130,000 a year. Modest home, $1,600 mortgage, 2 paid-off cars, cook at home, no luxury vacations, no performance. Their friends earning similar incomes have $2,800 mortgages, leased luxury vehicles, and international trips twice a year. Those friends think David is wasting his income. But David, at 38, has $185,000 in retirement accounts, $40,000 in emergency savings, 0 consumer debt, net worth of $265,000. His friends have roughly $60,000 in retirement, $3,000 in savings, $45,000 in various debts, net worth of around $18,000. David will retire wealthy in his mid-50s. His friends will still be making car payments in their 60s. If you have ever been criticized for a financial decision that was objectively building your net worth, you have sign 3. That criticism is not a warning, it is a receipt, proof that you're thinking differently than the crowd. And in personal finance, thinking differently than the crowd is almost always exactly where you want to be. So let's talk about the only number that actually matters. Not your salary, not your credit score, not the square footage of your home. Your net worth. Assets minus liabilities. That's the only scoreboard worth tracking. And here's where most Americans actually stand, according to Federal Reserve data. Median net worth for Americans under 35, $13,900. Median net worth for ages 35 to 44, $91,300. Median net worth for ages 45 to 54, $168,600. Read those numbers again, because they are almost certainly lower than you expected. The average American household, earning a decent income, living in a decent home, driving a decent car, has almost nothing actually accumulated, nothing compounding in the background, nothing creating options, nothing creating freedom. Just income coming in and lifestyle consuming it on the way out. Now place yourself honestly against those numbers. Under 35 with a net worth above $50,000, you are significantly ahead of the median. Late 30s with over $150,000, you are ahead. Mid-40s with over $300,000, you are on a trajectory most Americans will never reach. But here's the trap. You don't feel ahead because the people around you look wealthier. Newer cars, bigger homes, better vacations. In your brain, wired for social comparison, uses their visible consumption as your benchmark. But that benchmark is completely fictional. You are comparing your internal financial reality to their external financial performance. And those two things have almost nothing to do with each other. The person driving the $70,000 SUV next door might have $68,000 in auto loans and a retirement account that would genuinely make you uncomfortable to look at. You don't know, because real financial pictures are private. Only the performance is public. So stop benchmarking against the performance. Track your net worth every single quarter. Is it higher than 90 days ago? You are winning. Is it growing consistently year over year, even slowly, even in years that made you nervous? You are winning. And if you have 2 or 3 of the signs we covered today, your net worth is almost certainly climbing, even if your checking account makes you anxious, even if your friends think you're being too restrictive, even if you drove a paid-off car to dinner last weekend and felt quietly out of place at the table. You are not behind. You are building something real, while most people around you are building an increasingly expensive illusion. Let me paint you a picture of where this leads. 10 years from now, the friends who called you cheap are still making car payments, still carrying balances they don't talk about, starting to panic quietly about retirement, running numbers that don't add up. And you? Approaching $500,000 to $750,000 in net worth with real options, not theoretical ones. 20 years from now, they're in their 50s, realizing they cannot afford to stop working, and you're a millionaire, retiring when you decide to, not when circumstances force you to. The paid-off car, the modest apartment, the trips you skipped, the criticism you absorbed without flinching, all of it bought you something money cannot purchase later: freedom. They chose to perform wealth today. You chose to build it, quietly, without an audience. That's the whole game. Now go calculate your net worth. Assets minus liabilities. That's your real scorecard. And if this video confirmed you're on the right path, subscribe. Every week, we talk about what actually builds wealth in America. No hype, no performance, just the truth. You're ahead. Stay the course.